to the Power 2 here on College Football Addiction. TJ Pittenger, Tom Hannafin, Cole Thompson. Going to talk a little bit of college football. I know that's crazy when you look at what we were just talking about off air, the rest of the sports media landscape. But we still do believe in talking college football on this channel and on this show.
Listen, you can't be the face of college football without a face. Like, you have to have one. I think that's an important prerequisite we should establish right off the bat. Okay, you have to have a face and a heartbeat. I think that's important. I think there's a lot of layers to this that we could delve into in the next hour. Let's hit it.
Use Tom's face, my voice, and we will become the most annoying entity in the world of college like that ever existed. Which, again, nobody's complaining about. That's why you come and watch us all the time.
Let's jump into things a little quicker this week. Excuse me. I thought this was interesting, and I almost did a solo video on it, but with the holiday weekend, and I spent the day at Disney yesterday, I just figured we'd save it for today. Listen, I am no proponent of defending anything the ACC has to do, but I do try to not rail on them all the time. However, last week when Jim Phillips came out with a statement where he literally said the words, "Hey, I voted on this," talking about the changes to the college football playoff, talking about seeding. We'll get into the specifics of that later. I voted for this. I don't think it's what's best for the ACC, but I do think it's what's best for our sport, best for college football. Moments later, Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark, who usually does things better than Phillips did, said something very similar. I don't know if their PR person is the same or if they're just coordinating statements, as Sankey maybe said later. But I thought it was hysterical that they would come out and admit that they voted for something that was not in the best interest of their conference. They agreed to something that was not in the best interest of their conference. That is literally part of the reason that Florida State sued them a few years ago, was because they said that they thought that the ACC was not acting in the best interest of its members. Greg Sankey comes out yesterday with a statement of, "Hey, I don't know if we've got coordinated press releases going on over here, this, that, or the other, but I'm in those rooms. I'm asking for ideas. Nobody's giving me anything back. And so we'll just take the lead on this." I'll toss it up to you guys and then we'll kind of pass this back and forth. But is there an infight here? Is this good for the sport? Is it bad? Is Sankey projecting strength while the others are projecting weight? Like, just thoughts on this kind of mini feud that's going on?
Well, I mean, we're going to probably talk about it a little bit later on, but didn't Greg Sankey also say that the SEC intends to leave the NCAA by 2028? Do I have that?
I mean, it's a rumor speculation thing of just throwing it out there so that way they get their way.
I think the bravado surrounding the SEC is at an all-time high. Oddly enough, having not won the national championship in a handful of years, it really doesn't seem to matter. It's just like the SEC's ego as a whole, and it's embodied in Greg Sankey. And it's kind of that Kevin Hart joke of sometimes you got to put it on the table. And it sounds like that's kind of what he's trying to do here with the ACC and the Big 12, almost kind of big brother, little brother of like, no one's listening to you. You're not leading the conversation. You don't wield any real power in these discussions, that sort of thing. Shut up and be grateful that we're still here, that sort of thing. So that's kind of the vibe that it comes off as when I hear anything come from Greg Sankey talking about other conferences, that sort of stuff. And the ACC and the Big 12, like, look, what are you really supposed to say? Because it's not like you're getting an equal seat at the table compared to the SEC and the Big 10. We talked about that in the grand scheme of college football, the college football playoff. Like, yeah, they're not getting as many automatic bids, that sort of stuff. So what else are you supposed to say? Like, oh, there's a big win for the ACC and Big 12. It's like, no, like, you're not being treated as equals. So the best you can do is say this is good holistically for the sport. So good luck being a PR person in the ACC and the Big 12 with all this stuff.
Let me ask you guys something. And this is just for the general audience here. What do you think Greg Sankey's job is? You think he's here to ruin college football, to just light a fire underneath every single other commissioner's ass and say, you're going to wield underneath our beck and call because of our revenue distribution gives us the higher advantage? No, his job is to do what's best for the SEC and to look out for the SEC. Just like it's Brett Yormark's job to do what's best for the Big 12, and Jim Phillips' job to do what's best for the ACC, and Tony Petitti's job to do what's best for the Big 10 and every other small commissioner conference that exists in college football. It's to do what's best for their conference, and damn everybody else. But in my opinion, here's the fun part. The fact is that when we talk about college football realignment and expansion and all these other conversations, if you aren't going to be progressive, you're being left behind and eventually going to be shown the door. Like, everyone wants to talk about how Texas and Oklahoma had to join the SEC, how it was unjust that they decided to hitch their wagon and that Greg Sankey welcomed them with open arms. Well, let me make a phone call to you real fast. Hi, Tom. Yeah, guess what? Texas is not welcome to the SEC. I know who's going to make that next phone call. It's going to be Tony Petitti in the Big Ten. He's absolutely going to say, hey, you can come join our conference. You meet all the criteria, and Oklahoma will welcome you too. We're going to strengthen our odds. And then Greg Sankey is going to be flat on his ass looking for another administration job because he didn't do what was necessary. Greg Sankey is not trying to ruin college football. The regulations of current college football status are ruining the sport because if we don't have certain factors that work for all conferences, because all conferences aren't aligned properly with regiment in terms of NIL funds or in terms of revenue distribution, because of the fact that you look at how businesses are spending their money on marketing and advertisement. There's a reason why the Big Ten and the SEC are clear cut above everybody else. And then we have these conversations about what's the future going to look like with college football playoff expansion and how unjust it is, how unfair it is that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get 4 automatic qualifiers. Well, guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. They're already going to get 4 teams in just because of when you look top to bottom at roster construction, they're going to fit the criteria of the 16 best teams. So by limiting it to 4 teams, it actually opens up a more fair advantage for an ACC team to get a 3rd roster in, or a Big 10 team to get a 3rd roster in, or a Big 12 team to get a 3rd roster in, or maybe a G5 program to beat the odds and go 12-1 and prove that they belong in the conversation. But you want to sit here and blame the SEC because it's an easy scapegoat. The reality is that Greg Sankey is just the voice for all of the athletic directors and the school presidents that exist in the conference. And if he's not answering to them, he's not doing his job properly. If ever before the NFL and the college football world were coexisting, it's now. Because Greg Sankey and Roger Goodell both serve as the mouthpieces for those behind closed doors that are not willing to answer these type of questions, and they get the flack for it. But they get paid a handsome amount to be the whipping boy and, more importantly, the shield that protects all these other conferences. All I'm hearing this week down in Destin is how the SEC is ruining college football. It's ruining college football. But it's Greg Sankey ruining college football. Never once have I heard somebody going after Auburn's president. Never once have I heard anybody going after Alabama's athletic director or Missouri school president or Texas A&M for that matter. Even though they're the ones telling Sankey, if you're not doing what's best for this conference, we'll find somebody that actually will, and we'll pay them a handsome amount to go ahead and not care about what the future of college football looks like. You think that the television revenues are absolutely not caring about college football right now? School presidents are right at that same level. It's like neck and neck on fighting of who is going to earn the most profit and who is going to profit the most in terms of revenue in their back pocket.
I have no problem. I think that in theory, I have no problem with Greg Sankey saying or doing anything that he has done. I think Cole's spot on. His job is to do what's best for the SEC. I think he's also got, with Tony, kind of right there beside him, I think they've got the power. And when you have the power, you are able to wield that. My issue more comes with, and I don't really know in effectiveness what could really be done from an ACC Big 12 side other than just better marketing, maybe better PR. I think it's weird for them to say we voted against the best interest of our conference. I think it would have been better for them to say, no, this is good for us. This guarantees us too, and we can get more with the at-large if we take care of our business. I think that'd be a better look than what they're doing now, than playing sheepishly, hey, we're going to do what's worst for our conference and openly admit that. In effectuality, though, it doesn't really change anything. They don't have the power. If some of this voting was happening 25 years ago, maybe it would look a little different. Maybe there would be more of an equal voting power dynamic. But that's just not where we're at right now, right? Things have changed so much in the sport that we're not there. But I don't, even as an outsider, a non-Power 2 member, right? The people that have a problem with what Greg Sankey is doing, like, would they do something different just for the love of the game? Would they do something that is actively worse for the SEC if they were in charge of it just because they love the game so much? Like, oh, this is ruining college sports. This is ruining college football. I mean, it's really not. We'll talk more about, our thoughts on college football and where it stands in general. But I do think Sankey gets a lot of unwarranted heat that anyone else in his seat would literally do the same thing.
Here, let me ask you guys a simple question. We have an opportunity here at College Football Addiction to make $150 million by signing up with a brand new company that's willing to pay us a lot of money. And we have friends that work in this industry, and we have friends that work on YouTube. And I believe that YouTube at this point is the number one entity to get quality football content, especially college football content, because you're not getting that on ESPN, and you're certainly not getting that on a lot of other networks. But even though we're friends with all of those other people and we want to see them be successful, would we not want what's best for us to be the number one entity as the number one college football show? It's the same thing with Greg Sankey. He's doing the exact same thing. I care about college football, but I care about my conference more.